Hey guys, I'm PRXBT and today I'm going to do a VoD review for Domnation. Um, we're just going to try see the game and see if you made any big mistakes or if you played well, and it's going to be kind of like a coaching session. So let's see how it goes this game. I do have some timestamps as well on my other monitor, so I'll be checking that out. But apparently in this game he wanted to go for Rangers, and let's see what's going on. Okay, so nothing too interesting right now. Obviously, we have an amazing, uh, wild shapeshifter pack right here, like Sork pack. Just look at this, right? We have got two Warwicks and a Nidalee, so we got two wilds, so that can definitely be built into like a level 1 start, basically, first PvP round. And then we have two shapeshifters. Jace definitely can be used as a filler unit until we find Gnar. We pick up Ari here. So this is a very good wild shapeshifter start, and I'd definitely be interested in that. We also got two Veins, so it could be a ranger game with that. Okay, so we got two bows and a rod here. Okay. Anyways, so the first round is always one of the most important rounds, and I see you've been picking up pairs the whole time. That's very good. It's important to be picking up pairs in the early game and just try to make your early game board as strong as it possibly can be, which is what you're trying to do. So that's good. And you're asking here, should we build the Rage Blade as soon as I see it, or should we wait? Thought it could be a ranger item with this item, and yeah, you're absolutely right. It could be a ranger item, uh, ranger game with that item. And I would go ahead and build the Rage Blade here. The first, like you've got two choices. You can either build RFC, right, or you can build a Rage Blade with these items. And I like building a Rage Blade because it's definitely a very good item now. And you also have a start which is pointing in two directions. It's pointing towards Shapeshifter's Sork, like some kind of Shapeshifter's comp, or pointing towards Rangers. But you only got two Rangers. I'd say it's pointing more towards Shapeshifters. But the thing is, Rageblade works really well in both of those team compositions. So I would go ahead and build Rageblade because you can use it in many different compositions, and it's a very strong item now in general. And it kind of like narrows your decision tree in the future, basically, so that like you want to narrow your choices a bit, and be a bit more decisive. So that's why I'd build a Rage Blade. Although you could also build an RFC, but I'd definitely build an item right now. Although it's not a huge deal if you didn't build it. So, okay, we're scouting here. That's also good. I guess you're checking what other people have. Okay, and we lose the first round. That's not a big deal. We have a lot of pairs here. We don't have any upgraded units, so it's a good decision that you chose not to level up. Between Lulu and Lucian, like you're scouting in the notes. You said that you're scouting to debate between this Lulu and the Lucian, and I would definitely keep the Lulu. Lucian, like he's only a short-term unit mainly, unless you want to go into some kind of gunslingers comp. But with this start, I wouldn't say you want to go gunslingers, especially not with these items, right? You've got a Rageblade or RFC. Neither of those go gunslingers. So, I mean, yeah, you could maybe think about nobles, but nobles isn't really S tier right now. So I'd stick to like meta comps in general, to the strong comps. So I like that you kept Lulu here. Okay, so yeah, exactly. Here, we don't pick up any pairs. You throw the Camille's away. It's a pretty good decision. I definitely pick up that Jace because basically you've already got one Jace out there, and you also have a Nidalee, you've got an Ahri, you've got a Lulu. Like this is pointing very much towards a shapeshifter game, from what I see here. You could easily use this start and build into a shapeshifter game. So I like that you picked Jace up here. And then you got still a lot of pairs. Yeah, and you could go ahead and build that Rageblade, that's fine. Okay, you're playing against someone who's level 4, you'll lose this round again. Alright, anyways, right now you want to decide, do you want to make interest here? So basically, you have the option here of selling some of your units. You're never gonna be going assassins with this start. I mean, you could if you keep inting and you pick up a spat, to be honest, but you're not building an economy. And so you do have the option of selling 5 units, but since they're all pairs, I don't mind. I think it's a good idea to not gain economy. Like, you'd have to sell off, like, Vayne or Darius or something, and that would get rid of a lot of your options. So I like that you didn't sell everything. Okay, we're getting more picks here. That's nice. So you got another pair of Nidalees. You can pick up TF4 Sork. You can pick up Varus, who's a ranger. Okay, so you're obviously in between the shapeshifters and the rangers right now, which I agree with. Like, you are going in the correct direction here. Okay, you put in 4 wild here. I mean, 4 wild is really useless at level 4, right? Because you're not buffing anyone else with the wild buff. Like, you've got 4 units who each have the wild buff, but they're all wilds already. So like, 4 wild is more effective later in the game when you have, let's say, 7 or 8 units, because then there's 3 non-wild units that can be buffed up. So imagine if you had like a full shapeshifters comp with Shyvana and Nara and Nidalee are already wilds, but let's say you had Aurelion Sol in there as well, like Lulu. Like, Shyvana benefits a lot from the wild buff, so putting in 4 wild if you've got shapeshifters in actually makes a lot of sense, especially in this meta with a lot of Yordles. But at this point in the game, it doesn't really make much sense to put in 4 wild, and you also sold both of your Jaces in order to buy that Rengar, so you're kind of like throwing one of your options away, so I wouldn't have done that. Because, like, the thing about Jace is a really good early game unit who you can use as a placeholder until you find Gnar, basically. Because Gnar is very hard to find, right? So you need some third shapeshifter that isn't Gnar until you find Gnar. And then as soon as you find Gnar, you can just replace it to Jace. And you can put items onto Jace as a placeholder. Elise or Jace can both fill that role in the early game until you find a Gnar. So your first pick, you said that you got 80 HP by first carousel. Team is weak and wilds were not the best idea. How would I have taken the early game? I think I just explained that. Okay, regarding the carousel here, your first pick, and you've got 2 bows and a rod, and so far your bench is pointing towards either wild shapeshifters, Sork, like shapeshifters and sorcerers, as you noted, or towards ranges. And so if you want to go ranges, you'd probably want to pick up a cloak to build a Curse Blade plus Rage Blade combo, Guinsu's Rage Blade combo. Or if you want to go with shapeshifters, you could pick up any 4-cost unit. You could pick up a second rod, that Rengar, to be honest. I don't think you need another bow. You already have 2 bows, so I guess maybe you want to build an RFC plus Rage Blade. I mean, an RFC is a very good item for Aurelion Sol, or for Draven, if you want to pivot into that. So by picking up the RFC, it's definitely opens up the option for a Draven comp. So, you know, you're still early in the game, so you don't have to have decided what you want to go already. But I do see 2 Dariuses on the bench, so it's not a bad idea to keep Draven as an option when you've got 2 Dariuses on the bench. Like, Draven always comes later in the game, right? So the thing is, you don't have very great item holders for Draven. Alright, so I like how you decided to pick Cannon up. So it looks like you want to go into some kind of wild shapeshifters, which I don't mind. And I'd just build the RFC, to be honest, because wild shapeshifters uses that well. And if you can't do wild shapeshifters, you can always just use the RFC for Draven comp, as we already talked about. So you're using Ari right now as a placeholder for Aurelion Sol, I guess. As long as, there can be a lot of situations where there are 2 good decisions and neither one is much better than the other, but it's all about the thought process that matters basically with these games. So you're picking up some upgrades here, and at this stage you're able to level up if you'd like. It's 8 gold to level up, and you upgraded 2 of your key units. You've got another upgrade on the bench, so I think you should be leveling up here. You do ask, is Imperial Knight possible with RFC Rage? And it is definitely possible. And you should also level up here in order to put in Vayne, who is another upgraded unit. Vayne would get the wild buff here as well, and you just one round. So basically, whenever, like, you've got a lot of upgraded units, you want to, like, yeah, you could lose, but you actually just won your first round, so you kind of want to stop losing, and you want to just stabilize and try to keep your health high. You're already at the bottom of the leaderboard, and you're not like doing some hyper rolling strategy. So you definitely want to start winning some rounds. So I would definitely have leveled up that round. And okay, so you pick up another Rengar. I guess you want to go wild. That's fine. If you want to go wild, that's fine. 4 wilds. Although I would have just made interest there, since you didn't level up. Well, firstly, I would have leveled up this round and put in Vayne, just because she's an upgraded unit. And secondly, I would have gotten interest instead of buying the Rengar. And been a bit more decisive. Okay, so we pick up another Varus. Okay, now you decide to level up here at the Krugs. But, well, you spent some gold. Do you level up? Because the thing is, you don't need to level up, actually. You beat these without leveling up, but you did spend gold, right? Yeah, you spent gold to level up. And you actually don't need to spend gold to level up, because you can beat these guys anyways. You've got two upgraded units, and whenever you have two upgraded units, that's good enough to beat them, especially if you have other units that are strong, such as Rengar or Ari, with items. Soul TF there to pick up Varus, that's fine. You're kind of using your options. So you're kind of still in between a lot of things, and you want to, like, decide what you want to do very soon. You want to, I guess it's kind of depend on level 6 a bit. Let me read the notes a bit. Need Poppy for late game. Okay. Level to add Vayne by Shyvana. Yeah, I usually wouldn't use Rengar so early in the game, just because, like, Rengar's not an S tier champion anymore, unless, like, I wouldn't mind using him, like, as a placeholder, like, as an item holder, but you're not even doing that. Like, you could just build an RFC on Rengar, or you could build RFC on somebody. I'd definitely build the RFC by now. But picking up the second Varus isn't bad. Okay, so you're at level 5 now. 16 gold to level, so it would cost you everything to level up. And you need to be thinking, is it worth it for me to level up here? Like, will I gain some power if I level up? And I think you would. You can put in a second ranger that would give even more attack speed to your ranges. Like, you could use like 4 wild and 2 rangers as sort of a weird mid-game team comp and transition out of it, or you could even just use that basically. And you're on a little win streak, and it's in your interest to keep on winning. So I think you should be leveling up here and put someone else in, or you could like put in 2 knights instead of 2 ranges, but you can get like an extra synergy who will benefit from the 4 wild bonus. And then you can put in Varus and you can buy Poppy basically. So you wrote that you need Poppy, and yeah, you do need Poppy, but if you put Varus in, you can pick Poppy up anyways. But Poppy, yeah, Poppy would be a good fit into a lot of shapeshifter comps since they can add yordles to your team comp, and Poppy's also just a good and strong knight. So again, I would have built that RFC by now. You have a very easy transition into like some shapeshifter comp, and that's why I'd also be picking up that Jace again. You could have had Jace 2 with this Jace actually, and then you could have had 3 shapeshifters if you wanted at this point. Like instead of that Vayne, you could have had Jace and Shyvana in there. Okay, so you level up, like it was an imperfect level up, you see? So you spent 2 more gold than you had to, so sometimes it's worth doing it, and in this situation I guess it is worth doing it, but it would have just been better if you'd leveled up last round anyways. But that's not too big of a deal. Alright, so now it looks like you're shifting into some kind of a ranger team composition. Because you got upgraded Varus and you got upgraded Vayne. Although I would definitely say you can still go shapeshifters if you want. But the thing is, I would have made the decision earlier, basically. And if you want to go into ranges, actually, I would not be making RFC, because I think RFC is kind of not the best item to make. I'd rather make like a second Ginsu's and then a Curse Blade, or like a Phantom Dancer and Curse Blade for my Ashe. So one of the things that is gonna suck if we go ranges here is that we don't have a single ash yet, which is kind of important. Right, so we lose this. That's fine. Could sell some unit that you don't think you'll be using in the future. So basically, you should have in your own mind what you want to go by this point. You should be knowing what you want to do. So I can't really tell what you want to do. Okay, so you find ash here. You find another cannon. So if this is your signal that you needed to go into ranges, that is totally fine. But then you basically need to commit. Like, you need to sell all the units that you don't need and try to make interest. Like, let's say that picking up ash here was the signal you needed to commit to ranges. Because you said that this is a game where you'd end up going ranges. So if that's the case, then what you could have done here is you could have sold all of, like, you could have sold like Rengar and Ari and Shyvana and like the two Dariuses or something, and that would have been another 10 gold, and it would have gotten you more interest basically. Because it's like you've basically got your mid-game comp, and you could have replaced like Rengar and Ari, right, with Poppy and Mordecai, or Poppy and Darius. Like, you could have replaced them with two knights, and that would, like, you'd still have the two wilds. Although I'm not gonna lie, that like the two rangers do benefit from the wild buff right now, so that's a good thing. But yeah, one of the reasons you don't want to be going into ranges this game is because you picked up the ash kind of late, but as long as you can find more ashes later, it's fine. Just don't feel forced like you have to do something, you know, like there's a reason why when high ELO players play, like all of their transitions just look so smooth because they know what they're doing basically, and it is smooth the way they play. So you added the chain vest to Vayne, hoping to push the win. Yeah, that was kind of a mistake because, yeah, for sure you didn't need that chain vest on Vayne. It's not going to be there for the long term. So you do pick up a sword to make a Guardian Angel. That's fine. Although, again, you could have picked up like a cloak and then not built the RFC if you wanted to go ranges and built a Curse Blade. Like, I think that would have been better. And then with the armor, you could either wait until the next creep round and hope to pick up a sword later in the game, or if you pick up another bow, you could make a Phantom Dance or something. Okay, so you upgrade Cannon here, that's fine, and you've got Brand. You could actually just put in the Elementals right now. You should probably do that. I just use Brand. Oh no, you're selling Vayne because you put the chain vest on her. Okay, that makes sense. Although, alright, let's look at the situation a bit. It's pretty interesting. So, you got Brand here, right? And then you got Kennen here, you got Lissandra here. So you've got three elementals. Three elementals, especially at level 6, are extremely strong. Like, three elementals at level 6 is quite early in the game. And so you can definitely use it. You might have to get rid of 4 wilds, but that's fine. You don't want to use 4 wilds anyways for long. So you could put in, you know, Ash and Varus, and then you could get rid of Ari and Rengar, and that way you could put the items onto Ash, and then you could put in Kennen and Lissandra. Although then you'd have 1 extra unit. So maybe you just put in 1 ranger. But yeah, you're kind of, it's going to be like you're kind of not putting in the strongest team comp because some of your units like Ash won't be 2-star yet. But it's going to be okay because elementals are so strong at this stage in the game. And secondly, you're also just being much more efficient with your economy because you're going to sell like Ari and Rengar, and that's going to allow you to make 20 gold basically. Although instead you decide to sell Brand, but you could just sell Brand later and just use Brand right now for the elemental buff. Although putting a Guardian Angel on cannon is always good. Cannon is definitely one of the units that uses it the best. Interesting transition that you had with like 4 wild into ranges. Seems to be working quite well. I mean, if it's working well, you could even like keep it for longer, right? But yeah, the important thing is that you're basically trying to econ as much as you possibly can. Okay. So scouting the lobby is good to see what others are going. So there's only one assassin player, and there's like quite a few shapeshifters from the looks of it. So you need to kind of be aware of that. Your comp's actually doing really well right now. Honestly, you might have found like some kind of a niche comp. You can even just try to build upon this comp that you have rather than like pivot completely into ranges because it's working pretty well. Okay, so you found Asol as well. Like Asol definitely fits into like some kind of soul comp as well. Like yeah, the thing is this is a very non-meta comp you got here. Like you could put an Asol for cannon, maybe get rid of your elementals, get rid of the ranges, and then just do like 4 wild, 3 sork. Maybe you could even keep the ranges or like put in shapeshifters. Like do something around the wild since you already got the 4 wild. But you did sell Rengar earlier, you did sell Ari earlier, so I guess it's your intention just to use them as placeholders, which is totally fine. That's a lot of items. 2 swords. So those are not ranger items at all, right? And actually, you don't have many ranges. You've only got a Varus 2 and an Ash 1, so you don't actually need to commit. You've also got 2 Aurelian Souls. Like, I would argue that you want to stay with Sorks or Elementals much more because um, these items can all be used with Sorks. Like you can build a Shojins onto Aurelian Soul. That would or like Ludens, that would work really well. You can build a Hextech Gunblade and put that onto Shyvana, or like Infinity Edge or something on Shyvana. That would work really well. And then like these items, the RC, you can either keep it on Rengar or you can put it on Asol or Brand. Same with the Ari, Rageblade, you can put it on Brand or Asol again. So yeah, there's actually from these items that the game dropped, I would try to get away from ranges because these are just not ranger items. You can go like Elemental Shapeshifter Sork, you can go Sorcerer, like Wild Sork, like do something with the wilds basically, because like wilds, or do something with sorcerers or shapeshifters, because these are good items for shapeshifters or sorks, but not that great for ranges. I mean, you could build a Shoujins on Ash, but I'm not a big fan of Shoujins on Ash. It's just bad item compared to all the other items, all the attack speed items, basically. Okay, so you level up, and then you put in Darius. And I think I would have... I mean, Darius doesn't add any synergies to your team comp. So I think I would have leveled up, and then I would have put in Morgana. Like, I would have bought that Morgana, and then put in Asol for the Varus, and just got rid of the ranges, because... And probably just sold like Darius as well, because I don't see myself going with a Draven comp. I mean, you could always, if you find one, but it's kind of late in the game to be finding Draven. So I wouldn't rely on that, basically. And you've already got a lot of Sorks. You've got 2 Asols. You've got a good setup for Shapeshifters or Sorks. I mean, this guy has 2 Nars, but that's also why you could have kept a hold of the J Celia. Shapeshifters are definitely some of the strongest in the game, so if you're picking them up, there's no reason to let go of them. You should pick Morgana up for sure. You could put 3 Sorks in right now. You could do Elemental Sork right now. None of the units are really upgraded, but that's fine. Nar. Alright, this has to be a shapeshifter game. Like, I don't know how you ended up going with ranges somehow. You have 3 shapeshifters, like you got the Sorks. Like you have so many options here, right? You can do like elemental shapeshifter, you can do Sork shapeshifter, you can do wild Sork. But ranges is actually one thing I'm not thinking about here. It seems like you kind of tunneled on the ranges a bit, just because you had them. RFC can go on Asol or Brand, one of those two, or Shyvana as well. You probably want to get rid of Darius soon, so you could use Darius as an item holder. You want to do something with these items, like you have 4 unused items here. It's starting to get a bit like into the mid to late game phase of the game, and even if you get perfect items, it's going to take a while for you to make them, so it's better to just build items as you get them and not just keep them waiting on the bench, being unused. But yeah, you can actually put your entire team comp in right now, like some kind of shapeshifter comp. Ellie shapeshifter or Silk shapeshifter. You got another Morgana. This is an amazing game for elementals shapeshifters or Silk shapeshifters. You got 3 Yordles as well if you want. But yeah, looks like you didn't pick up Morgana, and I think that's a mistake, because you could have had a pair of Morganas. You could have 3 Sorks in right now, and you should be rolling down to 0 right here and trying to pick up any sorcerers you can, basically. Yeah, you could try to upgrade that Ari if you want. Ooh, selling Okay, definitely want the Gnar. Miss Lulu. I mean, maybe you don't want... Like, Lulu can make yordles as well. Like, if you go with Poppy, it's gonna be some kind of like Knight Yordle shapeshifter comp. But you've got two Asols, so it's kind of weird not to use Asol, to be honest. Asol's such a strong unit, right? Asol's a very strong unit that is hard to find, and having two of them this early is really a good sign that you want to use the Asol. Okay, this is close fight. But I would have a completely different comp in there, and I would have already gotten rid of the ranges, and I would be totally into the shapeshifters by now, basically. Also, I'd be at a lot less gold, because I would have rolled more. I noticed that you weren't using hotkeys. I'm not sure if that's the case every time, but definitely, if you're not using hotkeys almost all the time, like you should be using them. It speeds up the process of re-rolling and leveling a lot more. Okay, so you picked up a spat, that's fine. Okay, I guess you wanted to make Demon Gnar, that's also good choice, obviously. You could also make Demon Aurelian Soul, that would have been very good as well. Could have also made a Sork, because like if you make a Sork, then at level 7, you could like get Yordle Sork shapeshifters without having Lulu, which is what you got right now. Like, you don't have any Lulus, but you do have Poppy and Cannon, and that would allow you to get, like, if you make Nara Sork, then you could put in Ari and Asol, and then 3 shapeshifters, and then Cannon and Poppy for the Yordles. So you could have Yordle shapeshifter Sork without Lulu right now, if you wanted. But it looks like you want to go into some kind of elementals, which are also very strong. Okay, so you sell the Ash. Yeah, I think that's a good decision. Okay, that fight was not too close, because, like... yeah, he's got 3-star Nidalee. But, I mean... Definitely... Let's take a look at your comp again, because that fight wasn't really close. So... Your comp's got 4 wild, but apart from the 4 wild, it doesn't have great synergies. And even though you've got like 2-star Darius out there, you've got 2-star Varus out there, I just take those two out and create more synergies that are really powerful. Like, just put in 3 shapeshifters to buff up the Gnar, and then if you want, you can get rid of the wild, and yeah, but I'd definitely put Shyvana in. You've already got 2 shapeshifters in. I'd put a Yordle in. You've got 2 Yordles in. So those are 2 very easy synergies that you can put in right now, which I'd definitely put in. And again, need to pick this Poppy up as well. Okay, that's good. So it looks like you want to use Ari as a placeholder for ASOL, although you could just put ASOL even at 1 star. It's not such a huge deal, especially if you don't have any other sorks. Also, you should have rolled down to 0 there. Like, you should be rolling down to 0 here, trying to get upgrades or finalize your team comp, because that's pretty huge, getting Gnar. And yeah, so I still notice that you're mostly still not using hotkeys. Yeah, definitely would not be picking up Draven. Like, the thing is, you're already so much into the shapeshifters and Wild and Sork that, like, picking up one single Draven right now will mean you kind of want to transition your entire team comp, which I don't think you actually want to do. I think you want to build your comp based around this, because, like, completely changing from this into some sort of a Draven comp is going to be very complicated. Right now, what you should do is you should put in 3 shapeshifters, 3 Yordles. It's the most obvious and quickest and easiest thing to do. Keep going back and forth. Like, just stick with one decision, basically. Yeah, I really don't like selling Aurelian Sol, because you already had a pair of Aurelian Sols, and ASOL can fit right into your comp. You already had an Aryan there. You could pick up that TF instead of that Ash. Like, get rid of the Kindred, because, like, your comp is screaming like some sort of shapeshifters comp, and rangers don't really fit with shapeshifters, but sorcerers make great pairings with shapeshifters. So yeah, also, as you see, these items have been on your bench the entire time, so it's really inefficient usage of the items. You could you could have just put Shyvana in there already, but for some reason Shyvana disappeared. And then with Shyvana, you'd have 3 shapeshifters, big buff to Gnar, right, who's one of your carries, and then you can just make Shyvana a secondary carry as well. Build a Hextech Gunblade on Shyvana. It's a great item on Shyvana. Okay, I guess you decide to get rid of the wild and put in elementals by the look of it. Yeah, it's really late in the game to not be using these items, but let's see what drops. Okay, so you got armor. It means you can basically, like, you either build Infinity Edge and lock it right now, or you build GA and Gunblade. Probably with your comp, it makes a lot more sense to make GA plus Gunblade. Put GA on Gnar or another shapeshifter if you had Shyvana. That would have been a good choice, and then put Gunblade on. Since you don't have Shyvana, I guess you can put it on Varus or like on Ari, but you need to use the items right now. You should have also used them much earlier. Like, you could have actually just put items on Varus, because I wouldn't be thinking of using Varus for the long term, to be honest. Since this is your comp, it's not an efficient comp, basically. Like, again, you have more Sorks here that you could be picking up. And yeah, like, don't click the button there. Like, you should just be using the hotkeys. It's way better. You level up to 8, though, so you finally level up to 8, which is good. But I mean, you I don't know. Like, I would have used gold earlier to be upgrading, let's say, Aurelian Sol, rolling for a Sol earlier, or rolling to upgrade that Poppy earlier, and then completing that shapeshifter team, because you're going from this wild shapeshifter team into like wild ranges with Ash 1, and Ash 1 just cannot carry properly. That's the thing. Ash 1 is like, you need Ash 2 to be a carry. Also, again, you've got a lot of components, but you don't have full synergies. Like, you've got, again, you've still got only 2 shapeshifters. You could easily have put in a third one, like even Elise would have done, although you did sell a Shyvana earlier. You also, you got 2 Yordles, you could have put in a third Yordle. You got 2 Ellies on the bench. Like, you've got Lysandra and Brand on the bench. You could have put those in a lot earlier too. Like, your synergies are just not that great. Here's Shyvana. You could just put Shyvana in just for the shapeshifter buff, basically. It's better than the ranger buff, since your rangers don't have any items, and because of that, and also Ash is only Ash 1, and Gnar has 2 items, and it's Gnar 2. Gnar is one of the strongest units in the game, and you put items on him, so he's clearly one of your carries. So Kennen is also one of your carries with a GA. You put an item on him, he's 2-starred. Ari has an item on him. Like, whoever you put items onto, in a way, sort of becomes one of your carries. You get to choose who your carries are, and based on your choice of putting items on people, these are who you determine to be your carries. So you want to make them as strong as possible. That's why you want to put in Shyvana to make Gnar as strong as possible with the shapeshifter buff. You want to put in Poppy to make Kennen and Gnar as strong as possible with the shapeshifter buff, because those are your carries, basically. Right now, you put in an Ash 1 who is making this Varus, who is kind of a random unit in your team, strong. Like, put in units for a reason, basically. And yeah, you wrote it already in the timestamps, but yeah, you should be using these items. Why should you be using items? Because at this carousel, you are never going to be getting a full item, basically. So what that means is, I mean, you're always going to be getting a full item. So what that means is that you're always going to be picking up a full item. So just create an item, because the chances of you getting to the carousel after this are extremely low, where you can make a item component. So always use all of your items and just use them. Even like, this RFC's been on the bench forever. Okay, well, I guess now you decide to make your item. Pretty late, but at least you finally do it. That's good. Do beat this guy. That's nice. Another Shyvana pair would be much better. So now you got 3 wild. You should just get rid of one of the wild. Put in 3 shapeshifters. I mean, Ari is the carry here, but to be honest, Siobhan is still better than the Ari, because you got rid of all your Sorks earlier for some reason. When you could have easily have, like, instead of putting in Varus and Ash here, you could have had Aurelian Sol and another Sork, like Lulu or something. So you finally put in Poppy, by the way, that's good. But you could have had, like, let's say, Aurelian Sol and Lulu or Morgana. And that would have been 3 Sorks, which would have given your entire team some extra damage, which is really nice. Okay, you got rid of Ari. That's not a bad decision. You put in Elementals. That's fine. And yeah, you just need to put items onto people. Yeah, that's a good item on brand. That's fine. Still no shapeshifters. I'd honestly just get rid of that Ash. Like, Varus does not need a buff, and Ash 1 is not doing very much for your team. But yeah, definitely too slow for, too late to put in elementals, I mean. Could have done it a lot earlier. Could have also put in Sulks a lot earlier. Right, so you got full items here. Looks like you want the Shyvana. I mean, Shyvana's good. You could have gotten Shyvana 2 way earlier if you held on to them and picked them up. Yeah, just put a shapeshifter in. Get rid of the ranges. Get rid of Ash. Ash is really doing nothing. Okay, you decided to get rid of... Yeah, that's better. That's better. Like, the glacial buff isn't doing much for you. But demon buff on Brand and Varus isn't bad, and especially since Varus is upgraded, that's why it's mainly better to be putting in Varus rather than Ash in this specific situation. You're pretty strong. I mean, right now you should just honestly get rid of all your ranges. Like, you're not going to be using them. Okay, so you upgraded Brand. That's really good. That's a huge upgrade. And you could put in Swain if you want. Like, Swain 1 for, like, I don't know, the Varus. If you want. Like, it's hard to put in Phantom without getting rid of elementals. And since all of your elementals are upgraded and Kindred isn't, I'd value the elementals more, to be honest. Especially since, like, Kennen and Brand have pretty good items on them. This guy looks pretty strong. Doing a lot of damage. Oh, alright. Unlucky. Alright, I think that was a pretty good game. I mean, basically, I would try to be a lot more decisive, and like you were kind of holding onto two ranges the entire time when your team composition was never pointing towards ranges. Also, at the same time, you had items on your bench for like way too long. You should have used those much earlier in the game. And yeah, so just try to be more decisive, but overall it didn't look too bad. So I hope that helped, and thanks for watching.